No.
If you haven't opened it, it's a video I was on Your Morning, CTV yesterday. It was Lindsay that interviewed me about Airbnb. You know, so if you haven't seen it, you'll see it. One of the things she asked me is, let's say we're in a condo and they're doing Airbnb, how do you stop it? You know, because it's security reasons, it's usually against the rules. I basically said harass the hell out of them. Like if you make every Airbnb person feel uncomfortable in the building, the concierge is saying making them uncomfortable, what are you doing here? And they'll write negative reviews. Airbnb is all about reviews. They write negative reviews. I would blog about the building online. We don't want Airbnb. You will be harassed when you come into our building. And you know what? That's the best way than running to the board of directors and doing all the stuff. You have to use that stuff. So thank you. If you didn't get my email this morning, if you're not on my list, and when I'm finished, just bring me a business card and I'll put you on my email list. I was listening this morning. When people put their house for sale on Comfrey, Property Guys, there's also a bunch of P's. Okay, you put the property on MLS, you post a listing, and then you pray. So I remember that, my things, and I also know that the only question I ever get from a client is, how much you charge? How much you charge? Where's your office? How much you charge? Where's your office? It doesn't matter what I do. So if I'm doing this for 34 years and I've written books, many of you have my books, I've been on television, I've written articles, that's what they always ask me is how much you charge. And so many of you have sent me business. I don't know why you all haven't sent me business because why wouldn't you? First of all, we're the only firm that signs everybody up at home. Some people say they do, but they don't. With us, we just contact them and say, when do you want to sign? What's convenient for you? It's understood. We sign them up at home. So they don't have to miss work. It's easy. We go to retirement homes. We go wherever the person is all over Southern Ontario. And we go up to Muskoka. I have someone in Ottawa. And when I say I have somebody, we have to see the person face to face to sign the papers. So what we do is just like you. We go to the client with an iPad. All the papers are on the iPad. And so they sign everything on the iPad. The commissioner then emails them a copy of everything immediately after they sign it. They have a record of everything. And you need to do that now when you sign electronically BRAs. Be very careful about that. When they sign BRAs, DocuSign, make sure you email them back a signed copy so there's a record that you've done that. There's been people challenging commission over that. Then the commissioner emails it back to the clerk in the office, and the clerk emails it to the other side. No paper. Somebody says, how long you need to close the deal? 24 hours. But I prefer a little longer. We couldn't figure out how to email the keys. So what we do is we give every seller a lockbox. So every seller gets a lockbox. When they leave the house for the last time, they leave the keys in our lockbox. We give the buyer lawyer our code. That way the buyer does not have to go to their lawyers, which is usually it's on the day of closing, they don't want to do that at 5 o'clock. They just go straight to the house. How many of you think is a better solution? They go straight to the house, they let themselves in. Somebody said, what about the lockbox? It's a gift. I give it to them as a gift because it's cheaper for a lockbox than it is to courier the keys to another loft. So to me, it's like a no-brainer. We still have challenges at condominiums, though. Too many lockboxes. I know what you go through with condos. So condos are sometimes a little bit of a problem. For sellers, there's never a worry about a check because we electronically put the money into their bank account. And so because of that, there's no hold by the bank. They get the money, and that's how we pay commission. We just deposit it right into Claudia's commission trust account, and that's how you get paid. We also are the only firm that has a trust account at every bank. What does that mean? It means no matter where the client banks, they just go to the bank and do a transfer like they're paying a Bell bill. Their account to my trust account, it costs nothing. That way there's no running around with bank drafts on the day of closing. You know, that's a disaster for people. They just go to the bank. They can do it on the weekend. They can do it even in the morning of closing. They just get a receipt. They email us the receipt. and we close the deal. And so it's extremely easy for buyers and sellers to do it. And because I have this extra time to come out here and educate you and do things, I can also am available to do things like, I already reviewed 2 status certificates this morning, so I know the market's getting better. 2 offers going in without conditions. How many of you order status certificates in advance and give them out? Yeah, I don't charge for that. So I don't charge for that. I do that as a favor for the agent. It's not for the buyer. I know the buyer will use me, eventually they'll buy. I do it as a favor for the agent so that you can get these done. Okay, so our first topic this morning is this is my speech, part of it, that I'm giving at Realtor Quest this year. So I'm speaking at Realtor Quest at the end of May. My topic is, if you read the title search before you went on a listing, would you be more likely to win the listing? I feel the answer is yes, and I'm going to demonstrate this for you now very quickly. So if you go, I don't know which platform you use, but when you get to Geo Warehouse, you should be able to find a store button where you can buy the title search the same way I do. I think the charge is $30 to $40. That's what they would charge you to buy the title search. And this is what you're going to see. This is a blown up top of the page. So a few things. Number one, the proper owner name is right here. This is what goes on the listing. So sometimes this name is different from the seller because they've married, changed. It doesn't matter. You use this name. It's easy to transfer. If they've changed their name, we'll fix that with a closing document, but that's what you choose. You don't make a mistake on the listing. Over here, it'll say joint tenants or tenants in common. How many of you know the difference between the two? Joint tenants means if somebody dies, it goes to the survivor. So if you have 2 names over here, 2 names on impact, and it says joint tenants, then the listing only has the survivor name. You don't put the other name on. And I don't have to fix it until closing. All I need is a death certificate, and I transfer it to the one, and then we close the deal with the survivor. So just from that, you can almost answer all of those kinds of questions. Over here, this says fee simple absolute. If it says absolute, it means there can be no boundary issue. It means that if the fence is not on the line, it can be moved back to the property line. It also means that if somebody has died, you must get probate. I'm always asked that question. Do you need probate to sell? If it says absolute, you need probate. If it says something called conversion, land titles conversion, qualified, it's a different kind of land titles, but if it says that, 2 things. You can steal land. So if the boundary lines have changed over the years, it is still possible to steal. It's not easy. And also, it's possible to sell the property without probate. So you see, when people ask me that question, can I sell without probate? I say, I got to search the title. And I can probably tell within 30 seconds whether or not you can sell it without probate. It depends how long the family's owned it. So just from that, you've already got that information. You can also do mortgage verification before you see the question. On the page down further, you will see it says charge. This is an example, $250 to TD Bank. So you see the face amount of any mortgage. Now the seller may have paid it down. You don't know that. Could be a line of credit where they haven't taken down the whole line of credit, but at least you can start doing mortgage verification before you meet. Sometimes there's 2 mortgages, and that already tells you something more about the seller, that there's 2 mortgages. Because remember, you got to get paid. And so you're doing this before you even meet the seller. Liens. So CRA is starting to get more aggressive in registering liens against people's properties when they don't pay their income tax. And all you'll see is tax lien and something that says Minister of National Revenue. Well, they got to be paid on closing, and you don't know how much it is. The seller knows how much it is. They may not know it's on title. They may not think they have to pay it. So when you go to them, that's one of the first questions. I see you owe money. This is going to have to be paid. The lawyers are going to have to know about it because I have to write letters to CRA in order to get the statement because that has to be paid on closing. So that's got to be paid, and the mortgage has to be paid. If there's not enough money, you don't get paid. So it's important to know this right away. And you do by just getting the title. Now, let's look at a typical legal description. Lot 18, Plan 4323, ST SC114591. Okay, what does ST mean? Very good. Very good. Subject to. Is ST a good thing or a bad thing? ST. What do you think? Hands up, good thing. Hands up, bad thing. It's a bad thing. Why is it a bad thing? Subject to means somebody else has a right of way over this property. ST, that's what it means. That's not good. Because you have to wonder, where is it? Does this stop the buyer from doing what the buyer wants to do after closing? So, normally the ST is found down the page. So if you look at this number, it'll say something like Bell Telephone Company of Canada. So you know it's a minor easement. That's what the minor easement clause says. The buyer accepts minor easements for utilities. It's Bell. It's fine. But you know this. Sometimes you don't know that. And so to pull an instrument, it's like $3 to $5. You can actually get a copy of every one of these. So sometimes people send me these. So a buyer bought a brand new home on Chaplin in Toronto. If you know Toronto, Chaplin, it's that ravine side. And there was an ST there. And he said, I don't know what this is. So I said, okay, send it to me. And I checked. The back 15 feet of the lot, there's a city sewer easement that they'll never take. But it runs across the whole ravine on the back. So he said, I want to put a shed in the back there. I said, put the shed up, but they can make you tear it down. He said, my neighbor has a shed back there. The easement runs all the way down. I said, yes, but the city could make him tear it down. So a shed, he's not going to spend a lot of money, but what if he wanted to put a swimming pool back there? Not possible. So you see, just by finding that out, you can know. If you're a buyer agent and you see an ST in the legal description, you got to ask, what is that? Now, normally it's nothing. But if your buyer wants to do things like make a pool, this could be a problem. This could be a problem. And as a listing agent, you want to make sure you're disclosing the STs on the listing. And so you have this. It's the top line of the title. Notices. So more and more, I'm having problems with furnaces, air conditioners, the rental contracts, and all the other crap. Most of these notices relate to those contracts. And so there'll be a security. What does that mean, security? The owner agreed to buy the furnace or the air conditioner on payments for $10,000, whatever it is, $100 a month. But on title, the finance company has registered security of $10,000. And so that has to be dealt with. Is the buyer going to assume it? At least you know this right now. And this is not simple. Because many of these contracts say that if the house changes hands, the money's due and payable, the whole $10,000. So don't you think the seller has to know that? That when you sell, this is going to be payable immediately. And so when you go see them, you say, can I see the contract? I need to see the contract. I got to call the company to see if this is assumable by the buyer, or whether you got to pay it all out. The other thing, certificate of pending litigation means somebody's suing somebody on this property. It could be a partner, it could be a spouse, it just could be a previous buyer whose deal didn't go through and they're suing for something. If you see this, the property's not closing. There's a court order, this is not closing. So what does it tell you? I'm not spending any money marketing until I know this is coming off. So I'm going to stop there for a second. I know I went through this quickly. How many of you think this information would be helpful to you?
Yeah.
You see, do you think that you're having a different discussion with the seller when you go through this than the guy who comes in with, I'm cutting my commission by 1%? Do you think there's a difference? That's why I think this is worthwhile. Now, I didn't go through the entire, how many of you think that's a good presentation? Thank you. Thank you. So, okay. So, but that's what I wanted to share with you because I really feel this is not hard. You'll get good at it. This is how I search title. People say, how long does it take you to search title? 2 minutes. Because once I see that page, I know what I'm asking. I'm trying to find out what the easements are. Also, another trick. You might find, if you see the words "our plan" on the side, that could double as a survey. So sometimes you can actually get a survey from title for $5, but that's only if it says "our plan." It means a reference plan. It means somebody did something where they had to get a survey done and they had to register it. So sometimes the "our plan" can double as a survey. Just another place you can look for a survey if the seller doesn't have it. Okay. Are there any questions about this before we move to residential? Because that's our main topic this morning. Yes?
Sir, how come there's those companies out there, there's one guy in Brampton who's every survey that sees them? How's that possible?
The what?
There's these companies out there, they have all the surveys, or a lot of the
No,
surveys.